not the best day to be testing cars, and this is a big one. Now, you've normally seen us compare 2 or 3 cars at a time. It's very rare that we have 6 of them all at one go. Yes, this is the big mid-size sedan comparo. Now, why do we have these here? Because this segment has seen a lot of action of late. Lots of changes, lots of engine upgrades, facelifts and all new cars. It's a big one because we have the whole Autocar editorial test team to do this as well. Let's take a look at the cars in the lineup, shall we? The 5th Gen Honda City is the only all-new car here, and it is looking to impress for comfort and driver appeal. Hyundai's Verna has been rebooted for 2020 with revised styling, more features and a new 1.5-litre petrol engine. Incidentally, it's a new petrol engine that has breathed life into the cousins, Skoda's Rapid and Volkswagen's Vento, which happen to be the oldest cars in the test. Not much has changed on the Maruti Suzuki Ciaz since its last update in 2018, but like the Rapid and Vento, it's become a petrol-only model in the BS6 era. And finally, we have the Toyota Yaris that's seen a variant revision and price rationalization. It's a pity Honda didn't have the 4th Gen City to lend us for the shoot. As you may know, it stays on sale alongside the 5th Gen model, but at a lower price point. The 4th Gen City's rear seat comfort and 1.5 VTEC engine remain selling points even today. In consideration are the petrol-manual versions of each of these cars, and here's a quick look at their pricing. Familiar faces will be putting these sedans through their paces. Joining me are Hormazd, Shapur, Sergius, Gavin, Nikhil and Saumil. This team will be judging the cars on a whole host of parameters before whittling the list down to one definitive winner. You've seen these cars before, so we'll gloss over the matter of design and styling. Worth pointing out is that the City is the longest and widest car here. Standing wheel to wheel with the others, it looks the largest too. It's the Ciaz with the longest wheelbase, while the Yaris is just about the tallest. Before we go any further, do tell us in the comments which of these cars is your pick and why. And while you're at it, subscribe to the Autocar India channel and click that bell icon for the latest from us. The Autocar test team is raring to go. But before they get going, here's a look at the engines these cars come powered by. The Honda City's new DO8C 1.5-litre engine makes the most horsepower with 121 HP. But there's no matching the Vento and Rapid's new 3-cylinder 1-litre turbo petrol's 175 Nm torque figure. Like the Volkswagen and Skoda, the Hyundai is also available with a spicy 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine. But that version comes exclusively with a dual-clutch auto. This Verna petrol manual gets Hyundai's new 1.5-litre engine. The Ciaz is the lowest on power and torque, but it's the only one here with mild hybrid tech that helps efficiency and also gives a gentle electric boost under hard acceleration. The Yaris is the middle of the road in power and torque. Now that you're armed with all the facts, let's get going. Here's Shapur's take on the new City.
So the City works well in the city. The clutch is nice and light, the gears shift easily, and the 1.5 petrol is pretty responsive.
The new engine has granted the City greater flexibility. Path throttle will see you through most of your city commute, and the engine is so tractable it pulls cleanly from even 15 km an hour in third. There are some points to pick up when you drive it harder.
It isn't the most refined engine. There's a bit of a snarl past 3000 and pull it harder, and once you get past 4000, it really does get a bit loud. But like all cities, there's plenty in the top end, and pulling it till 7000 is loads of fun.
Do note, even second gear maxes out at over 100 kph, So you will need a long, empty stretch to experience the joy of extending this engine all the way to 7,000 RPM. The city won't disappoint you on a drag strip either, and with a 0 to 100 time of 10.2 seconds, it is pretty quick. Sadly, the new city is not as sporty in corners as we'd have liked it to be.
The suspension setup isn't the sportiest around. While stability is good and the city points into corners pretty nicely, it doesn't encourage you to drive faster and feels more like a stable, comfy cruiser than something that wants to excite you around corners.
Over to the Hyundai, and the Verna 1.5 petrol isn't a car that will get your pulse racing. Rather, it's the Hyundai's calm and easygoing nature that impress. Here's Hormazd on the Verna.
The engine's been tuned for low-speed driving, it's quick off the mark, it's responsive from the get-go, but once you press down, the mid-range is a bit flat and quite frankly doesn't have that surge of a turbo petrol. The Verna is nearly identical to the city in performance through the gears, but the Hyundai engine doesn't have the same rush of power at the top end. The Verna is also not the car that will have you grinning on a twisty road. Now, the Verna isn't particularly engaging or involving to drive, but for everyday cruising, it feels pretty stable and secure. And frankly speaking, everyday drives are where the Verna feels at its best. The class-best engine refinement is only one part of the story. The gear shift is light, the pedals are well weighted, steering for a change has nice heft but again isn't very heavy. So the Verna's relaxed character with its light controls and very user-friendly nature makes it a great everyday car.
Quite to the contrary are the Volkswagen Vento and the Skoda Rapid that are best enjoyed when driven with verve. Sergius brings you up to speed with the Vento.
Now yes, this car is 10 years old, but well, fundamentals are fundamentals and this car really nails them. Take for instance the chassis. The steering feel is just spot on. It's got just the right amount of weight with just the right amount of feedback, giving you confidence in corners.
And the new 1-litre turbo petrol engine has also completely changed the character of the car.
Now it is a turbo and there is some lag, but it's very minimal. In fact, power comes in quite early at around 1500 RPM or 1600 RPM. It begins to build up, so as you put your foot down like this, it's a nice smooth pull all the way. And then after that, it's just pulls and you'll have smiles all along.
2000 RPM gets the turbo spinning in earnest, and what you get thereon is a meaty slug of torque well past 6000 RPM. That strong surge in power can convert the most ardent advocates of natural aspiration. The punchy power delivery is addictive and you'll find yourself overtaking cars just because of the ease with which you can.
The Vento's cousin, the Rapid, expectedly left Gavin grinning for the same reasons.
Is there a slight flat spot while the turbo spools up at the start? Yes, there is, but you very soon learn to drive your way around that. And then you're into this engine's mid-range, which is really, really, really strong. Typical of a small capacity turbocharged petrol engine, there is this tipping point when the boost comes in really, really strong, and it's really nice to play around with that and sort of keep it just on the threshold of that. It makes for a very entertaining drive. The Skoda Rapid TSI also holds the distinction of being the quickest car here from a standstill to 100 kph with a time of 10.09 seconds. Interestingly, the Rapid is a touch quicker than the Vento to 100 kph and also marginally quicker through the gears. Driving the cars back to back reveal the Vento to be that wee bit gentler in its build of power, where the Rapid feels more forceful and fun when the turbo kicks in. And in the business of having fun, you'll be happy to note that the chassis more than complies because it is really, really well put together and it's got very good steering. it gives you that solid feeling that most of the other cars in this comparison just can't hope to match.
The Ciaz isn't the car for keen drivers, but makes for a good city car. Saumil takes you through.
This 1.5-litre engine is very impressive when it comes to on-tap responses. You just put your foot down in any gear and it gets moving without breaking a sweat. The drivability is so good that you slow down for a speed breaker to speeds below 10 and you can just take off with absolute ease. The peppy performance reflects in the timings too. The Ciaz is the quickest of the sedans in the third gear. The Maruti is the lightest car here, and that sure comes into play. And while you don't necessarily feel the boost, it's cool to see the hybrid system at work via the MID animation. A light clutch, smooth gearbox and easy to twirl steering are other things that help the Ciaz's case. What the Ciaz's engine is not is exciting. The mid-range is flat and there's no great change in character the harder you rev. It lacks punch for quick overtakes on the highway, and when you're out cruising, you'll miss a 6th gear, something offered on all other rivals. The Ciaz won't excite you on a twisty road either. Now get to a corner and the Ciaz, well, it doesn't disappoint as such. The chassis is nice and composed and it does change directions quite nicely. But it's the steering wheel especially, there's no feel, there's no feedback, and that's the reason why this is not the choice of driving enthusiasts.
It's the Toyota Yaris that does the least to excite, as Nikhil will tell you.
If you drive primarily in town, you won't really have a problem with the way the Yaris performs. It responds well enough to small taps at the throttle, and keeping up with the flow of traffic won't be an issue either. But when you go out on an open road, you'll find that the mid-range really doesn't have much to give. It's very flat, it takes very long to build speed. The Yaris trails all rivals in performance, both in outright acceleration and through the gears. This really isn't a car you'd like to hustle in any case. The engine is just one part of the reason why. The other is the steering. There's an artificial heft to it at high speeds, and actually speaking, even in town, it does feel unnecessarily heavy. On the plus side, high-speed stability is good. Also, upping confidence levels is the braking performance. The Toyota is the only car with rear discs, and brake bite is really strong.
Having spent lots and lots of time driving these cars, the team also had many thoughts about these cars' interiors. Here's the gist of their points. The team found the city's interior the most airy and welcoming. The rich leather upholstery on the top-spec ZX version and the soft materials on the dash help the city's cabin feel like a premium space, even if there are some hard plastics inside. The comfy throne-like front seats and the well-judged driving position also got a thumbs up. The tactile aircon controls that click as you turn them are among other highlights. The team also liked what the Hyundai had done with the Verna's latest update. The new 8-inch touchscreen and the digital instrument cluster are the most prominent updates inside the Verna, and they have enhanced the look inside. The dual-tone theme is also neat and quality is good, but where the Verna loses points is on interior space. Even up front, the cabin doesn't offer the same sense of space as the other cars. The Vento's interior continues to stand out for familiar reasons. The class-best build with the reassuring sound on the door shut impressed the team the most. There are no soft materials on the dash, but there's a hard-wearing look to everything, and the panel fit is really good. The drivers also found the large front seats comfy. What there's no escaping, however, is the Vento's interior looks dated now. It's a similar story with the Skoda Rapid, with the build quality being the highlight. However, the team had some opinions specific to the top-spec Monte Carlo's interior. The Rapid Monte Carlo has an all-black interior, and with the red stitching, it does look sporty. The Monte Carlo version's commemorative seat covers, though, are the bone of contention. They not only look aftermarket, but because of these seat covers, the Rapid Monte Carlo also does without side airbags. There's much to talk about the Ciaz's interior too. The Ciaz uses light colors to make the already large cabin feel airier still. But while the color scheme does its job, the crew noted that the cream flooring is a pain to keep clean. Of other things, the Ciaz's simply styled dashboard is user-friendly and quality is decent even if it's hard to ignore some parts from lesser Marutis. In a nutshell, the interior is missing that wow factor. The drivers who like to sit low also found the high seating position hard to adjust to. The Yaris's interior has its hits and misses too. The Toyota does well to place the touchscreen high up and in your line of sight, and build quality is also quite solid. However, the plastics are underwhelming. The larger surfaces are hard and the mock stitching simply looks unconvincing. Front seat comfort was good, but the narrow footwell and absence of a dead pedal are big irritants. Before we talk features, it's important to highlight that there's nearly 6 lakh rupees between the prices of the base version of the most affordable car and the top spec version of the priciest car here. To simplify things, we've considered only the top spec versions of each of the cars for this comparison. Here's how they compare. Auto climate control, rear AC vents and cruise control are features you'd get on all models. Put prices into the equation and you'll find the keenly priced Ciaz gets the comfort essentials while the Yaris should have offered more for the money. Interestingly, there are quirky feature differences between the similar priced Rapid and Vento. Top versions of the Vento get LED lights that are not offered on any version of the Rapid, but it's only the Skoda that gets auto headlights. Both Volkswagen Group cars miss out on keyless entry and go. As the tables make clear, it's the Honda City ZX and the Hyundai Verna SXO that get the most goodies, but for a lot more money than rivals. It's the Verna with the most wow features, with items like the sunroof, digital instrument cluster, wireless phone charging, a hands-free trunk release, and the genuinely useful front seat ventilation function. The City also gets a sunroof, and it's the Honda with the better executed part digital instrument readout. In the battle of the infotainment systems, it's the Verna's 8-inch unit that comes out on top. It's the easiest to use and gets the most features too, including eSIM-based connected tech that allows you to remotely keep in touch with your car. The City also gets connected tech, but while the 8-inch touchscreen unit is decent, the dim screens and low-res rear-view camera feed are spoilers. Top-spec versions of the Rapid get a high-contrast 8-inch touchscreen, which is slick and very responsive to touch inputs, but irritatingly misses out on Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We're fans of Volkswagen's 6.5-inch touchscreen system offered on the Vento, and also lower versions of the Rapid. The screen is relatively small, but the interface is crisp and you also get smartphone mirroring options. The Ciaz's SmartPlay system is nice enough, but you can expect Maruti to upgrade it to its latest SmartPlay Studio soon. Toyota's 7-inch touchscreen won few admirers in our test team. It misses out on Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and also looks aftermarket. All these cars comply with the latest Indian safety regulations, but none of them have been rated by global NCAP. But the point to note is that the Volkswagen Polo, with which the Vento and Rapid have much in common, is a 4-star car. In terms of safety equipment, it's the Yaris's V option with bragging rights when it comes to airbag count, with 7 including a knee airbag. The Verna and City get 6, the Vento gets 4, while the Ciaz and Rapid Monte Carlo make do with 2. The Toyota is also unique amongst petrol mid-size sedans for its front parking sensors and rear disc brakes. ESC, hill start assist and tire pressure monitoring systems are safety features only on the Verna and City. The Honda also goes one up on all its rivals with handy lane watch cameras that show a video feed of the left side blind spot on the center screen. We can't talk about sedans and not talk about the rear seats, can we? 5 feet 11-inch tall Nikhil was the judge for the rear seat space and found the City and Ciaz best on legroom and the Verna the tightest of the competitors. Here's more on what these cars are like from the back seat. We'll start with Shapur in the Honda City.
So in the back seat of the spacious City, which is both wide and has plenty of legroom, even if somebody tall is sitting right in front of you. The seat is at a good height, there's a long squab, and the backrest is nicely reclined. What's also particularly nice is this little kick up in the floor, and that allows you to rest your feet at an angle very comfortably.
The center armrest, however, is a bit low, and there's also an unusual humming sound that comes from the back. Still, overall space and comfort are great, and the city is also the comfiest to sit in 3 abreast.
What rounds off the experience nicely is that the ride is nice and mature. It feels like a much larger car. It absorbs bumps beautifully, silently. It doesn't toss you around. There are no big thuds, and all in all makes for a really comfortable passenger experience.
The comfort-oriented setup has granted the city the cushiest low-speed ride among mid-sized sedans. And even at speed, the high-frequency movements that once were a constant companion are all but gone in this all-new city.
You really won't have reason to complain about the manner the Ciaz deals with our roads, as Saumil notes.
The ride quality is nice and supple. It absorbs the road shocks really competently. Another thing is, on longer journeys, there's very little body movement and it doesn't pitch or roll too much. The Ciaz also makes good on its class-best wheelbase with tremendous legroom. The Ciaz's rear seat can also comfortably accommodate 3 adults. Sadly, the Ciaz can't completely capitalize on this abundance of leg and shoulder room thanks to a seat that's far from perfect. The seat squab is short on thigh support, the seat position isn't ideal, and taller passengers will be restricted on headroom.
The limited rear seat space has long been a chink in the Verna's armour, and that's something that holds true even with the latest update.
Now the back seat is possibly the weakest link of the Verna. It's not the most spacious. Headroom is a little tight for tall people. Legroom too is just about adequate. Small windows here don't really give you that airy feeling, so it adds to that kind of cooped up ambience. Hyundai has made huge strides in the area of ride comfort. Now the ride is pretty good, much better than what it was before. It doesn't bump around, the ride is fairly flat. It even rounds off bumps and sharp edges quite well. So Hyundai's done a good job as far as ride comfort goes.
The Skoda Rapid also impressed for its ride quality. Here's what Gavin has to say.
The thing that these VW Group cars, including the Rapid, have always got just so right is the suspension, and it just powers over big potholes like the ones we're going through right now. You will hear the suspension of the Skoda and VW protest with a loud thwack on really bad surfaces, but for the most part, ride quality is really good. There isn't anything new to say about the rear seat itself, but that's no bad thing. Now, this being a car that's been around for quite a long time, this is a back seat we're quite familiar with by now. And when it was new, it was one of the best back seats in the business, and it's held up quite well even today. Space is more than adequate. The seat itself is also very, very comfortable. The backrest is a tad upright, but I think it's an okay position for me. And I find the seat cushioning, if though a little bit flat, still very supportive and comfortable.
Sergius had much the same to say about the Vento's rear seat experience as well. Though the Volkswagen does go one up on its cousin and all the others with a clever feature.
As far as comfort goes, it's just spot on. The backrest too is nicely contoured and pretty comfortable. And then of course there's something that is pretty unique to this car only, in that I can just do this and voila, I have more legroom. Boss mode, as you may call it, is a key point of distinction on the Vento. But a high center tunnel means the Vento and Rapid aren't ideal for seating 3 at the back.
Shifting focus to the Yaris, here's what Nikhil had to say.
The Yaris isn't the largest of cars, but the rear seat is actually quite comfortable. It's nice and supportive and pretty well cushioned. However, for a tall passenger like me, legroom is decent, but headroom will be an issue. Toyota has handily given an adjustable headrest for the middle passenger as well. The only trouble is that the cabin isn't really wide enough to seat a third passenger in great comfort, and what also takes away from the experience is the front center console that extends really far back. A distinctive feature on the Yaris are its roof-mounted aircon vents. It's the most effective at channeling cool air to the back, and it's the only system that lets you adjust fan speed at the back too. As for ride comfort, the Yaris is set up on the stiffer side and you can feel that firmness at low speeds. But on a really bad patch of road, you'd be surprised by how well the Yaris absorbs the rough stuff.
On airport runs and out-of-station trips, you'll manage to fit in quite a lot of luggage into all these cars. The one paper is the Ciaz's 510-litre boot that's the largest, with the city's 506-litre boot being the second largest. However, only the Yaris offers the added flexibility to split and fold down the rear seat backrests to increase luggage room. Before you ask kitna deti hai, here's the real-world fuel economy we got in our tests. The City was the most efficient of the sedans, both in the city and on the highway. The Ciaz also did well for itself. It was the turbocharged Geo, however, that registered and delivered single-digit economy in our city test loop. You've seen what these cars are like on the inside, what features they get, what they're like to drive and what they're like to be driven in. But which cars stand out and which one is the car that does it all? That's something the team thrashed out back at the office, and everyone had much to say.
It's proper value for money, and then it has everything that I'm looking for. It's easy to drive, and at the end of the day, it's backed by Maruti's widespread sales and support network.
I would take the Vento. I know it's 10 years old. I'm sure you'll knock me on the head for peace of mind, but it's got the fundamentals right.
But let's not forget the City, which, with its fantastic top end and, revs to 7,000 RPM is great fun.
Best space, best seats, and even the ride comfort is really, really good.
I like to be up to date, and to me the one that gives me the most modern and up to date feel is the Verna.
The sense I get is a car like the City, there's no real one major flaw, which a lot of the others have.
And the discussion went on till the team reached a consensus. So here's what they concluded. The Toyota Yaris didn't top any section of our test, and the whole experience is a bit plain vanilla. The only reason to be interested in one should center around a guaranteed hassle-free ownership experience. The Maruti Ciaz is big, spacious and easygoing, and thanks to sensible pricing, it makes for the value pick. There's also the peace of mind that comes with buying a Maruti. The thing is, for all its strengths, the Ciaz doesn't feel special enough, and it makes for the level-headed choice, but not an emotional one. If it's a fun-to-drive sedan you're eyeing, then the Skoda Rapid and the Volkswagen Vento are the cars you should be most interested in. The punchy 1-litre turbo engine makes everyday drives fun, and the keen handling only adds to the experience. The incredibly priced Rapid Rider deserves special mention for bang for your buck. But what there's no escaping is that opting for the Rapid or the Vento does require you to be content with buying a decade-old car that misses many modern-day frills. That's something not everyone will readily accept. As for the Verna, it's got the most eye-catching design and as ever a lengthy equipment list that is the pull here. A quiet engine and a pleasant ride help its case as a city car. But it's also a model that won't get your pulse racing. More than anything else is the limited rear seat space that costs the Verna big. All said, it's the new Honda City that impresses across the widest set of parameters. It's the plushest inside, packs and loads of goodies, and the characterful engine also adds big to the city's point tally. But what really wins it for the city is its class-transcending comfort. The exceptional seats, that sense of space in the cabin, and even the ride comfort just make the Honda feel like it belongs to a higher segment. The sticky point is its sticker price. The City is the most expensive car, and by quite a margin. But if you want one sedan that does it all, the new City is worth the stretch.